Today we are going to learn about thermocouple. So this thermocouple is a device which is used for measuring temperature. So this consists of two different metals which is having two different thermal expansion coefficients, and they are joined at one end. So this thermal expansion coefficient refers to the change in the size of the material according to the change in temperature. So due to thermal expansion, the matter has a tendency to change its shape, area and volume because of the change in temperature. And the ratio of the degree of expansion to the change in temperature is the coefficient of thermal expansion. So we have a formula for calculating the coefficient of thermal expansion, where alpha L is denoted as the coefficient of thermal expansion. Delta L by L is equal to alpha L by alpha L into delta T. So delta L is the change in length which is due to the change in temperature or the increase in temperature. L is the original length, alpha L coefficient of thermal expansion, and delta T is the change in temperature. So now we will just look on to the materials that are used for making a thermocouple. So these are of two types, that is base metal thermocouples and rare metal thermocouples. So base metal thermocouples are a combination of pure metals like iron or copper along with the alloys of iron, copper and nickel. So these base metal thermocouples are used for the temperatures up to 1375 degrees Celsius. So these are cheap and more sensitive, but the disadvantage of these base metal thermocouples is that they have low temperature range because they have low melting point compared to rare metal thermocouples. So these rare metal thermocouples have a higher temperature range, that is 2600 degrees Celsius, and these are the combination of pure metal like platinum and alloys of platinum, tungsten and rhodium. So these are you all know that platinum is an expensive material. So these rare metal thermocouples are expensive compared to base metal thermocouples, but they have a higher temperature range. So now we will move on to the principle of thermocouple. So this thermocouple works on the principle of Seebeck effect. So whenever the two dissimilar bodies of the thermocouple are joined together, we will have two junctions, right? So the Seebeck effect states that when the temperature at these two junctions are maintained at two different temperatures, an EMF is generated within that loop. So this generated EMF can be measured using a voltmeter, right? So this generated EMF is directly proportional to the temperature difference, and in this way we can measure the temperature using a thermocouple. So this generated EMF is directly proportional to the temperature difference, that is T1 minus T2, where T1 is the temperature at junction 1 and T2 is the temperature at the junction 2. So in order to remove this proportionality sign, we are multiplying with the constant known as Seebeck coefficient, that is S, where S is the overall Seebeck coefficient, and this is equal to S1 minus S2, where S1 is the Seebeck coefficient of metal 1 and S2 is the Seebeck coefficient of metal 2. So now let's see about the construction and working of a thermocouple. So as I said earlier, the thermocouple consists of two different metals. So we have copper and iron here, and these are joined at two different ends, that is which will be calling it as a junction. So we have two junctions here, so junction A and junction B, and junction A is known as hot junction, which is at temperature T1, and the junction B is known as cold junction, which is the known temperature, and we will be calling it as T2. We have to measure the temperature at the hot junction A, so we have to measure T1. So we already know the value of T2, it's a known value to you. So as said earlier, according to Seebeck effect, whenever the junctions of the two bodies are maintained at two different temperatures, an EMF is generated, right? So here we have two junctions A and B, and they are maintained at two different temperatures. So obviously an EMF will be generated in that loop. So how can we measure this EMF generated? So we can open this loop and place a voltmeter in order to measure the EMF generated. So it is the voltmeter is shown in the figure. So you can use the formula V is equal to S into T1 minus T2, and T2 is known temperature. We know the overall Seebeck coefficient of different metals. We know the EMF generated through the voltmeter. So the only unknown is T1, and hence we can measure the temperature. So now we'll move on to the laws of thermocouple. So these laws must be kept in your mind whenever you are dealing with the thermocouples. So first law is the law of wire temperature. So in the figure you can see two thermocouples, right? So the junctions are maintained at temperature T1 and T2, and I have also denoted two other temperatures, that is a wire temperature. So the topmost wire has the temperature T3 and bottom wire has temperature T4. So this law of wire temperature states that if two thermocouples are at different junctions at different temperatures, that is at T1 and T2, the thermal EMF, that is the EMF generated, will be independent of the wire temperature. So this the generated EMF is only dependent on T1 and T2 and not on T3 and T4. So the generated EMF is independent of the wire temperature. That is the first law. So next law is the law of intermediate metals. So suppose that you have a thermocouple with two metals, say A and B, and thus they will form two junctions, J1 and J2, out of which one is a hot junction and other one is a cold junction. Suppose we are inserting one more metal into this setup, that is metal C, as shown in figure. It will form this metal C is inserted in the circuit by cutting metal A. So whenever we are inserting metal C in the setup, it will form two more junctions, that is junction J3 and junction J4. So this insertion of new metal is only possible if the temperatures of these two junctions are same. So this law permits the insertion of this metal, a new metal, only if the junctions of the new if the temperatures of the two new junctions are same. Okay, so if you need to have a extension wire or something inside a thermocouple, this law permits the use of the same. So the next law is the law of intermediate temperatures. So suppose that you have two thermocouples, say first one with the temperature with the junction temperature T1 and T2, and the second one with the junction temperature T2 and T3. Let the first thermocouple develop an EMF E1, and let the second thermocouple develop an EMF E2. So suppose that if we are constructing another thermocouple with junction temperature T1 and T3, then that the EMF of the new thermocouple E3 will be equal to the algebraic sum of the first thermocouple and the second thermocouple. So this law of intermediate temperature states that if a thermocouple develops an EMF E1 when its junction temperatures are at T1 and T2, and suppose that we have another thermocouple which is junction temperature T2 and T3, and if we are constructing a new thermocouple with junction temperatures T1 and T3, its EMF will be the sum of E1 and E2. So the next law 4 states that if a thermocouple is made of a single homogeneous metal, then it is not able to produce any electric current or an EMF. And the last law 5 states that the algebraic sum of the EMF produced in a circuit containing two or more thermocouples all at the same temperature is 0. So that's all about the laws of thermocouples. So next we look on to the advantage and disadvantage of thermocouples. So the main advantage of thermocouple is that it is much cheaper than the resistance thermometer, and its range of temperature is very wide. Okay, and the main disadvantage is that it has low accuracy as compared to other temperature measuring devices, and sometimes we need extension wires when we are using thermocouples in remote areas, so it makes the circuit very complex. So these are some of the applications of thermocouple. So that's all about the topic thermocouple.